We throw around a lot of big numbers these days. President Obama's budget plan for 2010, $3.6 trillion. The deficit, $1.75 trillion. The stimulus bill, $787 billion. Numbers, numbers, numbers. But that doesn't begin to tell the story of people hurt by this recession. In these tough times, it's all about feeding themselves and their families. And some people who never thought it could happen to them are relying on food banks. We've been traveling across the country to see how Americans are making ends meet. We call this project the ripple effect. Dan Simon has tonight's story in San Francisco.
Claudia Bartram had been a successful sales rep, also a college graduate who had once taught high school English. Yet we found her at a place usually reserved for the needy.
You've never been to a food bank before?
No, this is my first time.
What was it like going in there?
It was very emotional.
She says she has always relied on herself, 59 years old and divorced. She'd saved up a comfortable nest egg, more than $100,000, but stock market losses have hurt.
It's been a tsunami. It's been one thing after another. And you're like, things can't get worse, and then they do.
A few weeks ago, she lost her job at an in-home care service for senior citizens. Revenues were down, so they had to let her go. She's using what's left of her savings to pay the mortgage on her $350,000 condo, which she says is now worth less than what she paid for it. Stretched to the limit, Claudia needed help.
I felt shame, felt humiliation, felt you're an intelligent person with a good education, with good jobs. How in the world have you found yourself in this situation?
Nowhere can the economic ripple be seen more than at the nation's food banks, like this one outside of San Francisco.
This is kind of the bottom of the barrel. The more people hit the bottom of the barrel, that's the real indicator of where the economy is at, not what the Dow Jones Industrial Average is sitting at.
Last year, nationwide, food banks saw a 30% increase in volume. But for workers here, that's not as surprising as the kind of people they now see coming.
People are coming in with this apologetic thing. You know, look, I've never been here before. This is not something I've ever had to do. What do I do?
At this smaller food bank in Marin County, one of the most affluent areas in the country, the changes have been striking.
We have people in marketing, software. We have a lot of realtors that live out here. So those are the people we're seeing that for the first time are really getting hit hard.
More than 80 people came through here today. That's about 50% more than what they were seeing just a few months ago. And until recently, the policy was you could come here every other week. But with things getting worse and more people losing their jobs, they've changed that. They're now allowing people to come every week.
Desperate to hang on to as much cash as she can, Claudia filled up a bag with about $50 worth of groceries.
So you got apples.
And the apples, pasta, some canned goods.
Enough, she says, to last a couple of weeks. Claudia says there is irony with her situation. After all, she used to donate to food banks. Now she's having to take from them.
Dan Simon joins us live from San Francisco. Dan, look, this is putting a lot of stress on food banks. I mean, how are they dealing with this significant demand?
Well, it's certainly a tough situation. You know, I just got off the phone with a food bank director in the San Francisco Bay Area, and this is pretty common for what's happening in a lot of big cities, that right now they're able to keep up with the demand. Grocery stores, food manufacturers, the federal government, they've kicked up their donations to offset the demand. The problem is what happens a few months from now if the demand stays the same or if it actually increases. What they fear is that they might actually have to turn people away or reduce the amount of food that a person gets. But of course, right now we're dealing with uncharted territory, so they don't know what's going to happen.
Well, certainly a sad story. Dan Simon in San Francisco, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Folks, on food stamps don't exactly